Hey, as I'm looking at you on the screen right now, and I remember you from back in the days prior to your parasailing accident, and then all of a sudden I was reading about that accident, and I watched the piece that the WWE did on you on What Are They Doing Now? It was on their network. Dude, walk me through that. I mean, I know you've told the story a million times, but now that I'm sitting there looking at you, because, you said you stuck your finger in your mouth because your palate was crushed, everything was hanging down, you couldn't breathe. Tell me what happened. Give me that story.
Well, fast version, we were having a hell of a party on the 4th of July, and my buddy's lake house. We had motorcycles there. We had a big barbecue. We had we were going to have a band that night, and we'd been doing some jet skiing and water skiing, everything, parasailing on the lake. And we basically said, all right, let's put this stuff away. We're going to get ready to cook in a little while. We were all going to jump on our Harleys and take a spin. And Brian Blair shows up, the wrestler B. Brian Blair, and with a couple friends. And he had this girl who wanted to go parasailing. We were like, oh no, we put that all away. We're gonna take a little ride on our bikes. So we back. Oh no! It turned into a big shit show to get this parasailing thing. So my buddy throws his arms up in the air, runs in, grabs a parasail thing, drags it out, ties it to the boat. I'm working on trying to keep the rope from getting tangled up, and they got this girl and they're putting her in a harness and the parachute and thing and to go parasailing, and you have to start on the beach when a small lake. So my buddy just about ready to go, and he just says, to hell with us, and just hammers down the boat. I was out in the water in between, kind of, and I realized he's just gonna pancake this girl. She's just gonna get dragged in the water, all kinds. She could get hurt, and I'm trying to stop him. I'm like, no, don't go, man, don't do it. And it just happened so fast. By the time I turned around, a matter of seconds, to look to see where the girl was, having no idea that I'm in harm's way right there. I turn, and as I turn, her knees, she's just coming off the ground in the parachute and the parasail and this harness, and her knees are together and bent. So her knees like a battering ram, and her knees just hit me right in the face. I turned right into it, never even saw it, and it hit me so hard that it pushed me. I was in about 1.5 to 2 foot of water. Ripped me out of the water, threw me in the air, head went back, and feet came over the front, and then I landed back on my feet. And the only reason I'm even alive today is because that impact at about 30 miles an hour didn't knock me out. Crushed everything, but it didn't knock me out.
But what'd you do, dude? I mean, because you said you couldn't breathe, you kind of stuck your thumb or whatever so you could breathe. How did they get your ass to the hospital, and what did the doctors think when they saw this mess that was your face?
Yeah, I came up and optic nerves were damaged. I couldn't see, and I knew I was hurt bad. And then when I couldn't breathe out, I got my finger and created an airway. They called the ambulance. They took me to the closest hospital, dumped me off, and then next thing you know, somebody finally comes over and starts checking on me, and they take my blood pressure, and they say, oh, my God, they think I'm having a heart attack. They start calling Code Blue, and everybody's running around, and they think I'm having a heart attack because I'm trying to tell them with my hand stuffed in my mouth, I'm hurt bad. I'm hurt bad. It's not my heart. I'm hurt. Jesus. And finally they got me in, and they took an X-ray of my head, and that's when they realized that it was, it was really bad because my face is gone.
So what did they do? Did they start the surgery right then, or did they have to create all the titanium pieces? Well, what did they do?
We were in a crappy hospital. They had no equipment. Just by chance, it just happens to be the best reconstructive doctor in the world nearby, working and living in Tampa, Florida. This accident happened in Lutz, Florida, and so somehow he found out. They called him in. He came to the hospital, and basically they had to bring in 18 wheelers with imaging, 3D scanning, all this equipment, because they had nothing at this hospital, and they couldn't move me. They said because it was a head trauma, they didn't want to take the chance of moving me to another hospital. So they just carted me in and out of the hospital onto the trucks, and they took all this scans and stuff. And this doctor, he had all the clout, man. When he snapped his finger, man, people stood at attention, and he had to get four or five teams of doctors, brother, together. They had to have a team of doctors to work on my mouth because my teeth and my palate was broken. They had to have ear, nose, throat people that reconstruct my palate. They had to have the optical people that work on my optic nerves because I was blind. Then they had the neurosurgeons that were there because the head injury, they didn't know what they were looking at, if my brain was going to bleed and they were just to put together all these people was just crazy, incredible.
Dude, you're pretty much on top of the world as far as the wrestling scene goes. All of a sudden, this happens. You know, where was your mind at? All of a sudden, your face is crushed. Your life has changed. What'd you do mentally? How did that would have f***ed with me pretty goddamn bad.
I was in a low place. I lost both of my parents within the last 2 years before this happened. And I was in a bad marriage and just got hit with divorce papers. And and now I was laying there in the hospital with no hope. They're saying there is no hope. They didn't think I was going to live. They said, there's no hope that you will ever wrestle again. You'll never ride your motorcycle. They don't even think you're going to live. And so I was like, well, I guess it can't get any worse than this. I don't know what happened. It just suddenly, I guess, because I was just depressed about everything, my parents and losing a lot of money in the divorce. And then all of a sudden I was fighting for my life and all that shit didn't matter all of a sudden. It just was like, man, I guess now it's a question of, do I want to live? And I guess, yeah, I want to live, man. So then from then on, it was just a fight.
How long was the recovery process from that, man?
Oh, well, that's kind of hard to say. Before I really wanted to get in the ring, it was probably about 18 months before I felt easy in the ring. But I don't know anything about muscle memory or whatever, but maybe the doctor said that the only reason I was alive was because my body, the shape I was in, they said, body just wouldn't die. Your heart just kept right on beating and so that being said, I lost 55 pounds with my jaws wired shut for 3 months. I couldn't eat. So that time period, I was completely weak, had to basically sleep in a sitting up position, couldn't lay down for the 8 months. No laying down whatsoever. And so once the wires came out of my mouth and I could eat, then I started eating, went right back in the gym, started just riding a bike on zero even. And that was hard. And it was a struggle. Big time.
Hey, man, how long were you gone before you came back? And did you go right into doing the Piper's Pit, or was that back into in-ring action?
Well, we did a couple.
I'm not Piper's Pit. I mean, the barber shop. My bad.
I had some matches. I had some matches and went bad and everything. And then I'm not exactly sure whether it was Vince or Linda or who actually came up with the idea to do the barber shop, but they thought it would take the pressure off me trying to get back in the ring and let me have a little more time to heal, because it's still, that head thing, it's hard to say how long it takes to, mentally, even sometimes it takes more time mentally to heal than physically, just being not gun shy in there. You know what I'm saying? When, if a fist or a foot or something's flying at your face, and if you're, totally thinking about that, it's not good. You can't really work that way,
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, when I came back from my neck fusion, there was just a little bit of concern just as far as taking a flat back bump. But after, obviously what you went through would be at a whole different level. So I can understand that. But hey, when y'all did at WrestleMania 9, when it was Money Inc. Versus the Mega Maniacs, after that, you were gone from the WWF. What happened? Why did you decide to leave at that point? Did you go down to WCW with Hogan, or did WWF say, hey, man, we've got no more plans for you. We'll see you down the road?
No, I probably would have been better for me to talk to him before I left, but I never really did. I went with Hogan down, and it wasn't really to go to WCW. We went down to Florida to make a movie and a television series called Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah.
Reicher Entertainment was doing it, and all the guys from Baywatch were Terry's a production company that did Baywatch. And so was starting off in a new thing, being a actor and a stuntman.